Well, hello there, brave hearts and CoachMaddHatter's, and welcome to part one of our comfortable, let's see what we calling it. Yes, CoachMaddHatter's Coffee and Comfy Sofa Conversation Series, part one. Prologue has already been posted on YouTube, so go check that out if you want to have an introduction to the shenanigans we about to get into. Or you could just be courageous and let it ride. How about that? All right, so as I promised in the prologue, we're going to unpack some things. Yes, we are. So, look, I got all my books. Yeah, I got all my little, I got all my little shit situated, or at least it's sort of kind of situated. Yeah, uh-huh. Yeah, we going to get into some things. And so I would like to open up this segment in honorary of our ancestors. And so I'm going to read a passage from the introduction part of the red tent, right? And so in the prologue, we were talking about the abundance of ushering in what's now being called um, the divine feminine, right? And so we're gonna stick with that just for the sake of continuity. Um, but I will let me say this really, really quickly. Um, in honor of my Saturnine, my Saturn, my Capricorn ishness, my goat gruffness. I would like to use this moment to get the record straight. Okay, I know that we're used to hearing Saturn as father time, right? We're used to hearing um, Saturn depicted in a masculine energy. Linda Goodman, and I'm trying to think if I have her book on hand, but I don't think I do. Linda Goodman's love signs. Is it sun signs, love signs? I think it's love signs. Let's see. This is this is a piece from the book. Mine. You can see that I have like really have like been holding on to my little book. Oh, can you see? I put my little face on. I put my mask on. Try to spruce it up a little bit for the visual effects. Um. So Linda Goodman's I really do believe that it's the title of it is called Love Signs. It's so terrible that for me to be so in love with this book. It's either sun signs or love signs. I think it's love signs though. So Linda Goodman was the badass astrologer in the early 1970s. I want to say the late 1960s, early 1970s, right? Um, and in the beginning of this massive book, now that I think about it, the PDF is available online. I will probably include the link inside the keynotes so that you can have access to it if, in fact, you are interested in understanding cosmic compatibility via your zodiac sign. It also taps into certain energies involving one's astrological characteristics and how they blend and mesh on a general level. Okay, we got to keep in mind that without us doing our own homework about our own astrological coordinates, it's general. Now, yes, that means that you can get someone to read it for you, but I'm I guess it's my whole life path number 7 being the seeker. Just like the research and development of my own shit. And I just, I suggest that you as well be the master researcher and development of your own shit. Like, learn the language, learn to speak the language so that you can fluently interpret this stuff for yourself, right? Yeah, like, there is nothing wrong with getting help. There is nothing wrong with having a facilitator usher in certain information to you, but at some point, which we're gonna talk about a little bit more when folks say you have to do the work. Like, what does that mean exactly? What does it mean to do the work? What does that mean? Like, it's not just um, spend time with yourself. It's not just know what you like and dislike. In my humble opinion, it also means learn about your nuances. Learn about your energetic triggers. Learn how to raise and lower your vibrations. It's not all about raising, just raising and raising and raising that shit through the roof. No, sometimes you have to be able to bring it down. Sometimes you have to be able to synthesize it. Sometimes you got to be able to mix and scratch it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Sometimes, you got to be able to, move with it, rock with it. Sometimes. So she has it in here. I know it might be backwards the way you see it, but a time to embrace, right? So that is what we are going to be focusing on um, in part 1. Embracing that which is not uh, immediately shown with a person, aka yourself. Like, they have this thing where it's like when you first meet someone, the real you, the authentic you, in most instances do not show up unless you are completely comfortable, trusting, and cosmically bound, cosmically bonded, cosmically complementary. Will you show up in your most true essence? And trust me when I say authenticity doesn't necessarily mean showing up being a badass. Because sometimes you have to show up humble. Sometimes you have to know, you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. Sometimes you have to know when to speak up and when to be silent. There is a rite of passage that you can remain silent in certain situations with certain people in certain places. Doesn't mean that you're not being authentic. Actually, and this was one of my most hardest lessons that I had to learn, I can speak volumes in my silence. Because my Saturn is in Gemini, most of my early years was struggling with being able to communicate. So much so that I got so angry in not speaking up that I became like this word wizard. I went into perfection mode with making sure that when I did speak up, it was going to be the precise words that needed to be said for that particular moment without a whole bunch, but not just a little bit. So many times I would beat myself up after the fact, like, why you ain't say what was on your mind? Why you ain't speak up? And then as the frustrations took over, as I was in middle my middle 20s, early 30s, it was riddled in so much anger that it became, you shouldn't have said that. You should just let it ride. It wasn't that serious. Till now, in this day and age, I truly, truly do rely on my inner voice to say something or don't say something. Like, and it really is, it's a balance. It's a balance, all depending on the situation. I really do feel like my word wizardry has um, benchmarked its 10,000 hours. I've spent a lot of time by myself with my words in practice of being able to communicate and authentically express myself. Some folks can do this without much thought. They just eloquently flow with their words, and they are just balanced with their authentic expression. I had to work, and I mean really work towards mine. All of that to say that I believe that it's time to embrace the inner parts of ourselves that do not readily show up to impress or confess, spitting, or contend, or the one that shows up, versus the one that shows up when no one's looking. So we want to, how can I say this? Give oneself permission to show up in its most truest light. Yeah, I digress. So I know I'm gonna get back on a tangent, but for right now, I can feel it. Like it's like, okay, pull it in and stick, and not really. I don't really have a script, but just kind of stick with the flow of things, right? Yes. So, um, being the novice astrologer that I am, yes, I'm claiming it. It's part of my Declaration of Independence. I'm claiming it. You hear me? I'm claiming it. The interesting light about this is our comfort zones with telling our own story, good, bad, or indifferent, and releasing, unlatching our souls from this thing called guilt, shame, and retreat, emotional retreat. Okay, we are going to begin saving space for that which is considered emotional, because we live in a logic bound realm, which, if you had a chance to check out the prologue, I tapped in a little bit with how we are generationally inclined to this over dominance of male. And see, do I tiptoe? A little bit, yeah. I am a bit hesitant to speak in the public domain about this male dominance thing without running the risk of sounding like I am like this gung-ho feminist. I am a lady. like Adele say, I am a fucking lady. So I don't necessarily have to wave that banner. Like, that is the embodiment, the flesh embodiment I came as, right? But I still have like these ultra masculine characteristics about myself. I really do. Like, for a good portion of my younger years, as a certified cosmetologist, most of my preferred work was in the barbershop. Only hairstylist in a shop full of dudes. And not to say that I have anything against um, women infused conversations. I just blend better with the fellas. I do. I just blend better. Plus, it was like, a kid in a candy store. I just love a well-grown man. He just, yeah, he got a different kind of strut about himself when he leave the barber shop. So adorable. So yeah, it was one of those things where my perceptions and the way that I saw life just mesh better, on that level. So many times, I would hear, man, TC, you should be a dude. like you get it. Like, I do get it. I do get it. And maybe one of these days, like, I will unpack certain things that is not necessarily pro. Um, and remember, we are talking upon the social strata of guy and girl, not divine feminine, divine masculine. As I spoke of in the prologue, we have both within this human flesh embodiment, and sometimes that the divine feminine energy will take the lead, and sometimes the divine masculine energy will take the lead. In my younger days, as far as my perception and how I saw things, it was mostly in the realm of understanding where the guy was coming from. I never shunned. Let's get this straight, because it can get so wacky in this public domain. Let's get this straight. I never neglected from where the woman was coming from. And I speak like this because as a hairstylist, come on, let's be real with it. We are more counselors than we are stylists. Like, we are like the jailhouse lawyers of the neighborhood. And I used to say it all the time, like, the clientele that I had, I mean, their hair was okay. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't like the stylist that had them lined up around the block, but I did all right. But I really think they mostly came so we could chit chat, so we can unpack some shit, so we can get clarity on some shit. That's what I think, truly, like, because my clients really did. Oh, before I get way too started, make sure you got your coffee, and you got your pens and your pencils, and you got your journal. Yeah. Make sure you got all of that good. Make sure you got all your writing utensils and your goodies, your organizational goodies. Speaking of which, make sure you got your calendar, because we're gonna talk about some dates as I promised. But let me just ramble on just for a little bit more. So like, I would always giggle because life granted me the acquaintance of some of the most delightful women in the Maryland, D.C., and Virginia area. And even my little time in the Atlanta metro area. Like, I was just always drawn to some very enlightened, very classy, very well rounded women. Just gave me chills because of the conversations that we would have would always leave me in awe. Whether it was, and it wasn't always good, okay, but it still was in awe because of where they were allowed to take my mind and my perceptions and the lessons that they would bestow. Oh, baby, from what they've experienced or those within their circles of what they had experienced and some of the stories that were exchanged inside of our moments at the salon. Irreplaceable. Irreplaceable. So I like to say that I had a balance. So where I would professionally situate myself with regards to co-workers was more so in the barbershop. But my clientele was a bunch of classy women. Bunch of classy women. And I love them. I love them to this day. It's been 10 years since I retired out of the beauty barber scene. Uh, but many of them crossed over as girlfriends and counselors and just my tribe of queens in its most authentic nature. So, with all of that said, I done rambled on. Okay, so my honorarium for part 1 is for Saturn, which is my son, Saturn's son, which is feminine energy. Saturn is a girl. All day long, twice on Sundays. Saturn is a girl. It is a yin, not even resource. It's a yin source. And so to find out more about that, as I was saying, Linda Goodman does an immaculate job with identifying the planets and their source energies, as well as connecting the zodiacs and certain energies to the yin dark forces or the yang light forces. And all that I'm saying can be easily researched and developed either through online searches or take your ass to the library and go into the medical bookstore, the metaphysical bookstore. Stop being spooked out about things you don't quite understand. Go check it out and see what's good, see what's popping, and then just allow your perception to ebb and flow and balance it out with a little bit of time so that you can, have some things revealed to you. Because truly, some things remain a mystery on purpose. It wants you to seek it. It wants you to come for it. Yeah, it wants you to check on it. It wants you to come and check on it. And then you'll have a more elaborate, more successive understanding of what you came here for. Yes? Okay, so with that disclosure, I'm going to open up the segment with this quote out of The Red Tent, which is by Anita Diamant, Diamant, copyright 1997. And I always like to give that type of information for those of my fellow bookworms who are in the process of populating their home libraries. Yes. I always like to say it. There was this, is it a meme? I think it's a meme. And trust me when I say, I am not as technologically inclined as I would lead one to believe. But, no, I get around. But I think it's called a meme. technologically, or I don't virtually, I don't do much of the virtually speaking. Definitely don't do too much of the social media speaking, but I pop in and out. So, okay, so there was this meme going around that was saying something to the effect of, a lot of our social habits are based in folks wanting to know your credit score, or, wanting to know how you do with your bills and shit like that. The bookworms of the world, they say, I want to know what kind of books you reading. Like, yeah, like, show me what you into. I want to establish your character through the type of books that you read, right? I am, with that, in addition to your freeness with telling your story. And that don't mean it has to be like publicly posted, or you around here like telling your story to everybody who listens. No, but you are comfortable enough to know that, for one, you're human, and you're going to go through some things. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some, you're going to be indifferent about some. Um, and at the end of the day, your heart still needs to be as light as a feather. You need to be able to not only logically reconcile it, but emotionally reconcile it. And so the new ushering, the new wave of this divine feminine energy that is coming through this space and place, it is, as I've said in other recordings, tapping us on the shoulder so that we not only see things differently, but feel things differently. We are expected to love differently. Yes, people, we are being challenged to love differently. And at the beginning of that challenge is being able to love thyself. It's being able to understand that you did come here to experience some bullshit. Yes, and still be able to close your naked eyes, open up that first eye, and understand some things. Allow the divine to wash over that sight, so that that mind can say, aha. So, first quote to start it off. If you want to understand any woman, you must first ask her about her mother and then listen carefully. Stories about food show up with strong connection. Wistful silences demonstrate unfinished business. The more the daughter knows the details of her mother's life without flinching or wincing, the stronger the daughter. And I'll say the reason why it specifically spoke about mothers and daughters is because it's about the red tent, which is back in the ancient days, like way back in the day, when women would menstruate, aka come on their period. I guess the men were so freaked out by it, but me and my hood interpretation was like, because they couldn't fuck. It was like, y'all go stay over there in that tent till y'all finish doing, till your body finish doing what it's doing. And then you come back and holler at me. So, the women had to, during those 5 to 8 days, had to spend time. And it was a well insulated tent. And it was interesting because of the way that the mothers uh, ended up having such concentrated love in the tent. And especially the way that it was depicted in that book there, baby, let me tell you something. It made my heart sing. It was a place where I could easily close my eyes and become part of. It was so much love in that tent. PMS is the offspring of not having enough time in the home. And I really don't care about any kind of kickback anybody want to give me for saying that. It is the truth. It is the truth. Heart is where the home is. Has nothing to do with, this whole man-woman thing and the woman belong in a home, like that chauvinistic shit. No. Truly, there is a certain level of love that only the divine feminine can usher in. It belongs in the home. And so when women are not stressed, when they don't have to contend with a 9 to 5 as a rat race, when their energies are balanced and they are able to express themselves freely and they feel a great sense of belonging and value, and it feels like I want to say something else, but it's not coming to mind. But when the woman is allowed to exist in her holistic existence, complexities and all, there's a certain quality of love that exudes from her. There's a certain kind of magic that she's able to bring just with her presence. Yeah. It still amazes me how, with all of the raggedy ass shit that went down inside the historical value of folks that look like me, Big Mama still found her way through this bitch. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. And there are some that still exist. There are some that still understand that their magic is inside the homestead. They don't contend, with having to do this whole ultra professional shit. Like they don't, and that's not saying that they are not entrepreneurs. That's not saying that they're not hustlers. That's not saying that they don't, go after the bag, get that coin. But they know that they launch from the homestead, and that powerful magic that they have adopted and embraced as their rite of passage. Yeah, they still five that kitchen. They got grown babies come through the door. Mom, what you cooking? You know what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with kids are spoiled. Kids need, yeah, don't get me started. I'm not going to get started on that right now. But there's a lot of love where Big Mama dwells at. There's a lot of love. And she still make cornbread out the cast iron skillet. Fuck with you. So, all of that to say, that's the reason why it was specifically drawn to mom and daughter. Because the leveling up and the ushering in of this quality of divine feminine energy is because we're going to have to offset and tap into that which is going to shift the lopsided views of us being raised in what's called an anti-yin culture, an anti-feminine domain. And as I said in the prologue, for so long, society was based off of male dominance and how they viewed things. And very rarely was the woman able to contribute her intellect and her intuition, her natural, raw, untapped intuition. And it is the changing of the guards. It's the changing of the guards with regards to respect and reciprocity and storytelling. Storytelling is a big mama principle. It's a big mama principle. In that red tent, the babies was raised off of hearing the stories of their mamas and their aunties and their cousins. That's where the first line of academia came in at. They was not ushered into no damn public school. No, they sat at the helm of Big Mama. They understood her life, her story, her struggles, her triumphs, her contouring. Yes, yes. So, made that clear. Saturn is a girl. And it is it's quite tickling when I get in my mischief mode, especially if I'm dealing with somebody who's all uptight and antsy, especially the ultra religious ones. I will just like get real mischief and say, you know, my research been telling me, you know what, God is a girl. TC, what you talking about? And I leave it there. I leave folks to their own imagination. Like, do the research. Develop yourself. Find out what's good out here in these streets. Okay, so I'm going to pick up where I left off from the prologue with, right? First and foremost, because as a celestial being, you know this realm is not home. You know that, right? If you are part of the metaphysical crew, if you're part of the occult crew, if you're part of the inner healing, invisible, invisible intelligence, if you are anything close to the thing that's called, what is it called? The innermost healing arts, those that are engulfed in that thing called Imagineering. And it is a thing. Look it up. Disney pays their Imagineers just like IT pays their engineers. It's a real thing. All right? Imagination is the familiar of intuition. Those that tap into the unseen and bring forth that into the physical world. All feminine, baby. All feminine. So we like to be all scared of, this whole masculine versus feminine. Chalk that shit, throw it in trash. It's the power of and. We're talking about and. Feminine and masculine. One or the other. Or both. Yeah, because I was about to say one or the other will take the driver's seat. But see, we're not even traveling the same way anymore. Like the construct of how our soul travels through, in, and out of circumstances, situations, it's all being challenged. And I am going to say this real quick. Just, I'm going to tap into it real quickly. The presidential shenanigans that's going on right now is by design. It's on purpose. It's so that it may usher in like the most deepest contemplations of where we sit as a society. The catalytic combustion of contemplation. Write that down in your journal. Yes. Yes. And it has to be catalytic combustion. Only when we're agitated springs forth new contemplation and new ponderance. Those that are complacent don't do too much contemplating. Only when we're uncomfortable is a new energy ushered in for the leveling up of consciousness to ensue. And you don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to take my word for it. With all of that said, we are dealing with the relationship with self. We are dealing with the whole hashtag work on you. Shout out to my best friend. Yes, I have turned it into a hashtag. I know you ain't really fond of hashtags, but I'm a girl. I love hashtags. So hashtag work on you. With that comes the defining moment of having your birth chart, your natal chart details revealed to you. And then taking it a step further with treating it as true curriculum. Putting a new spin on that which is called self-studies. True self-studies. And so I bumped into a platform which is ran by two sisters, and the site is SaturnSisters.com, SaturnSisters.com. And yes, they do speak all things Saturn, which is one of the reasons why I absolutely love them. But not only that, like, they are PhD level astrologers, and they really tap into the duty of simplifying the complexities and breaking it down so that even the novice can step in and begin to understand things in a better light. And so I'm just going to read a few bullets from some notes that I pulled from their site on August the 15th, which was just a few days ago. Trying to make some sense of all this that I got sitting here. Okay, so when you were born, all the planets were in a specific position. And the location of those planets make up what's considered your natal chart. At the very moment you were born, where the planets were situated gives indication to not only who you are, who you're meant to be, but it also shines a light on what you came here for, why you came here, and some of your challenges and benefits and benefactors, etc., etc. And I keep looking like over here when the camera is over there. I'm going to get used to it one day. Or maybe I won't. Okay, so the snapshot of the sky at the exact moment of birth is as unique as one's thumbprint. Okay? So inside one's own chart, the planets occupy peculiar for me. Yeah. Occupy a particular space. No two charts are the same. Okay? I need you to understand that. If you don't understand nothing else that I get to rambling about, we inside CoachMaddHatter's space, okay? If you don't understand or take away anything else that I say, understand that no two charts are the same. No two fingerprints, no two palm prints, no two footprints are the same. And I know everybody like to get spooked out when we talk about having your palm read and all that other kind of stuff. But I swear your body came with a set of instructions, and it's not the Bible. And I don't say that to ruffle nobody's feathers. Just, it's like, it makes so much sense. Like when you order the VCR from Amazon, the instructions come with the apparatus. Like, okay, I'm not gonna do that. And I'm probably giving out too much information just even having my hands up like this. But yeah, this what the Saturn palm look like. Zodiac number 10. Been here a couple times. Look at the palm of your hand. And you don't got to get all spooked out or have somebody read it for you because you all, you embed, you knee deep in religiosity. You ain't, so, to each his own. Respect is, yeah, we dealing in respectful reciprocity. So I'm not going to get into that. But I am going to say, like, those who are of the first zodiacs of Aries, your imprints in your palm, very light, ain't got too much going on. You're just getting here. Those, as you go through the wheel, so that of a Cancer is going to have a little bit more imprints than that of an Aries or a Taurus. That of a Libra, and I'm hop skipping and but that of a Virgo, a Libra, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Pisces, Aquarius. I mean, yeah, Aquarius, Pisces. Like they gonna have a little bit more indentions in their palm. Each time it's a successive adventure. Each time you pop back in this joint, if you do not get it right, and yes, that is what I believe. I believe in the light as a feather situation with our um, inductions of my art, as well as if you do have to come back through here under whatever the circumstances is, whether you were ushered back in here or you re-enlisted. Each time, each time. And it baffles me that this type of knowledge is not readily available. But it also goes into say that when we use public education as the only education, or when we begin to uh, take more value in the academics outside of the home versus the academics that dwell right in the home, we will um, suffer from a lack of certain intelligences. Yes. Knowing thyself, that's the degree upon which this information is being shared. You truly do have the right to kiss it or diss it. Like, I'm not getting ready to tell you no shit about you going to some unholy place if you don't have the interest to tap in, right? But those who do want to tap in, those who are on a journey to self-actualization and have an attraction for this type of stuff, yeah, take the front row in your seating. Get your pencils and your pens and your highlighters and your notebooks. Jot down some shit, right? So, one's natal chart is a roadmap to one's inner and outer worlds. The birth chart is the soul's instruction manual. And specifically, the Saturn cycle. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with a cycle called one Saturn return. Happens every 28, 29, 30 years. And so usually right before one matures into their early 30s, they will experience a 3-year cycle known as a Saturn return. That is when Saturn, that's how long Saturn takes to orbit back into one's perspective lineup at the time that they were born. One Saturn cycle is that captures one's archetypes of maturity, mortality, and seasons of life. All of our seasons are not the same, and the seasons of nature is the ultimate template, but all dependent on the details of the planetary alignments when you came here. Certain things may vary, okay? Um, and that's one of the reasons why, look, okay, so many times it tickles me because folks will say, well, I don't want to tell you about the movie or the story because I don't want to spoil it for you. You can't spoil it for me. We perceive things differently. I'm going to always want to see it for myself. You telling me is me respecting your version of how you absorbed what you saw, what you heard, what you felt. Because I truly can be sitting right beside you at the same time and get exposed to it at the same time and go away with something totally different. You'll never be able to spoil anything from me. Ever. Not even dating the same dude. He not gonna treat me the way he treats you. And vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just can't. Now I can spoil it for myself, with a whole bunch of pile on with the thoughts and the worries and all that other kind of stuff. Speaking of which, I'm telling you, I had a situation a couple days ago. I'm wondering if I handled that correctly because I ain't gonna say that I might have spoiled it for myself, but I think that because I'm so in tune with, how can I say this? So in tune with trying to unlock the mysteries of me. I'm gonna write that down. Hold on. Because that's what we ultimately doing. We're unlocking the mysteries of me. Yeah. So because I'm like really truly honed into that and have become super overprotective of my time and what I give my time and attention to, I had a friend tap in, and because his what can I say? Because his initiation wasn't to my liking, I challenged it. And even though I have to say I don't feel bad for saying what it is that I said, because in my humble defense, I have to be able to weed out the riffraff. And what's true and authentic, that what's meant to be will be. And no matter what I say, if it's written in the divine for it to be, at best, it is the 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 mimicking of when one has to face the Sphinx. And I say that a lot. I do. When you come and you want to talk to me and you want to take my attention or divert my attention from what my heart or my inner voice is telling me I need to pay attention to, it's like initiating a conversation with the Sphinx. And everyone who knows anything about ancient mythology knows, yeah, you don't step up to the Sphinx if you ain't got shit to say. So, I questioned it. And I sternly questioned the inquiry, or the arrival, the arrival. And even though I feel like I had something to do with it, I still questioned it. I questioned him. I questioned me. I questioned motives. I questioned energy. I questioned it all. And so, if it makes it past this point, then I will at least know within my heart it's meant to be in progression. And it's not just something that wants to test my ability to smack out distractions. Yes, we are in the midst of unlocking the mysteries of moi. You are in the process of unlocking the mysteries of you, as I am in the process of unlocking the mysteries of me. So, with that said, we are still keeping it along the lines of the Wizard of Oz. No, sorry, the Wiz. And how Dorothy was interjected into this new realm when that was not her home. That's not where she belonged. But while she was there, not only did she meet some very interesting that folks and characteristics that ended up becoming very beloved comrades of hers, she also learned quite a bit of lessons that she will carry with her for the rest of her life. Also, it leveled up her consciousness and her ability to trust in herself. It gave her several opportunities to face her fears and to tap into that which was unknown to her before dropping down into the realm. She, along her way, realized that the wizard was not who everybody thought he was. Come on with it now. But uh, his outward appearance gave everybody, up until she challenged it, gave everyone the directions of what color they was going to be wearing, of what the trend was, what was mainstream worthy, if you will. Come on, like it. The Wiz, I'm telling you, all day long and twice on Sunday, can give us intricate detailing to what it is we're going through right damn now. So, I'm going to end session 1, part 1, because it was us getting into it. It was me rambling. Had to get all of that out before we dig deep into um, part 2. Now, part 2 will be um, the anchoring into the story, or the storyline, the never ending story, and not the film, but the book. The audio book is 11 hours long, so this is not for the faint at heart, and it's not for those that can't sit and research and study. It's not for you. But those that know that in certain stories and in certain songs and performances and art and creation and creativity, there in between the lines is messages specifically for you to help you mature and unlock your mysteries. I pulled notes from the never ending story. And honestly, I tapped in, even though the never ending story was always one of my favorites, I tapped into it after a suggestion from Bobby Hemmett. In one of his lectures, he said go and decode the never ending story. And so this is my second time doing this. Now, honestly, I don't know what I did with the notes from my first round, which was a couple years ago. But August 22nd, 2 days ago, I had the urge to revisit Now, what helped me was the story commentary that was done by Robert Byrd, May of 2012. And it's still up on his platform, which is dreampunk.me. So it's DREAMPUNK.me. Because the year 2012 is so significant for me, I honed in to see what was listed on dreampunk.me and was rather pleased with all that I discovered in relation to Robert being able to interpret and analyze and break down and simplify this immaculate story. Needless to say, three separate um, pieces of information, and this is only up until chapter 8, and the entire story goes up to chapter 26. I'm not sure if I'm going to break it all down from chapter to chapter, but I know from the prologue to chapter 8 really hones in on this thing that's called work on me. And so I pulled some really good stuff, and so that's what we will be unpacking in part 2. And with that said, I'm going to close out part 1 with the list from Victoria Moran's. See if we can get it. So Victoria Moran's Living a Charmed Life. And so this delightful little book is a compilation of 50 small essays, right? And so from the introduction to essay 10, which I will read real quick. So the introduction, and then essay 1 is Know That You Are Worthy. Essay number 2 is Start a Serendipity Log. Essay number 3 is Enlist Your Inner Epicure. EPICURE. Enlist. So I'm thinking that it's like enlist your inner guides, your inner voice, that which dwells within. It's time to enlist those entities as we continue to not only maneuver this thing called life, but take well advantage of the newer quality of energy that's being bestowed upon us, aka the divine feminine. Essay number 5, Wake Up and Smell the Morning. Oh, I'm sorry. Essay number 4. Let's do this. So essay number 3 is Enlist Your Inner Epicure. Essay number 4 is And Your Inner Chaperone. Then essay 5 is Wake Up and Smell the Morning. Essay 6 is Expect the Best. That was one of the more harder essays I had to dive into, but it's good. It's worth it. Essay number 7, Give Something Away Today. Essay number 8, Behold the 1,000-Pound Gorilla. Essay number 9, Admire All Your Aspects. What did we open up this segment talking about? And essay number 10, Make Life Charming Decisions. I'm deciding to close out this segment with reading the first 10 essays of Living a Charmed Life, because by the time Dorothy returned back home, she was someone that was considered charmed. She had lived through some things. She had experienced some things. She had met up with some folks that freely ushered her in the type of love that granted her a sense of belonging that was irreplaceable. She would be forever moved by her visit into the realm of Oz. It leveled up her courage. It gave her insight on who she would be once she returned home. Yeah. And so it answers the question slowly but surely, uh, in stem of my agitation of what the fuck am I doing here? Like, why did I want to come here in this wretched ass flesh, in this crappy ass realm, subjected, totally subjected to being earthbound for however many amount of years, to go through the shenanigans of a society that deems me less than human. So, um, I'm gonna save some of these thoughts for the next segment. So we are going to uh, we're going to transmute from the Wiz into the never-ending story, and we're going to unpack that. And of course, I'm gonna ramble on a little bit because I'm the Mad Hatter. That's what I do. But stepping into the realm of the never-ending story, we will keep in mind that compassion is key, especially compassion for self. Understanding of self is key. And there are multiple levels to this thing called life. There's a soul level, there's a human level, there's an emotional level, there's an intellectual level, a therapeutic level, an innermost divine level, etc., etc. Those were the levels that I could pop off the top of my head, just to give you an idea of that which I speak. And so, yeah, with that said, I'm going to end it here. Where are we? Yeah, we're over an hour. So, yeah, if you've sat with me this long, you are definitely what I would consider a brave heart. Damn near Coach Mad Hatter, if I may say so myself. Just remember, we are tapping into the question of what if Alice was prepared before she went down the rabbit hole? What if she was already equipped, backpack and all? She was ready. She was ready to face the Jabberwocky. Or she at least knew that she would be facing the Jabberwocky. Just like when Dorothy had to face old girl. Yeah, the witch. I don't know which one. Not Glenda. Not the cool one. Not even Miss Wan. I love Miss Wan. um, but yeah, she had to face. Um, I'm getting ready to find out. I don't remember. She had to face the not so nice one. Um, what if she was prepared? What if she was prepared? So with that said, there's a lot to reflect upon. Even through my ramblings, honey, there's a lot to reflect upon. And yeah, until next time, I wish you well.